In this video, I'm going to unbox this Philips 806 OLED and go through the picture settings in the user menu. Keep watching. These are the pair of feet. And this is the remote control, which you can see lights up when I press a button. And this is just a cover for the connection ports. And this is just the power cable. One thing to be careful is that it's probably quite easy for the whole TV or the whole box, in fact, to topple forward. So just make sure that you get help if you are not as confident as me. So we'll lay a couple of cushions. You can use cushions, but I'm just using some acoustic foams. So you can see that, we need to put these styrofoams back to protect the panel. And it appears that it's been so long that I don't even know how to apply protection. Lay the TV down, remove the bottom styrofoam, and then you can attach the feet. So you can see these pair of feet. They are two-tone, so depending on your character, if you are a dark person like I am, then you can place the darker bit in the front. And I really like the fact that Philips TV have clearly labeled these feet, whether they are on the left side or the right side. So I think, this is on the left side, looking from the front of the television. So we shall try and pop the darker bit because it fits my character on the front. And we'll do the same on the other side. Or if you want to mix and match, I think you can place a darker portion on your left or right side and the other color on the other side, just to show your mixed personality. But let's put the dark chrome bit towards the front. This video is sponsored by Box, the online technology store. Visit box.co.uk for the best deals on TVs, soundbars, and all your other technology needs. So I've finished unboxing and setting up this Philips Aero 6 OLED. Let me go into the picture menu and explain the settings. Under picture, the default picture preset would be personal, but I think I would generally prefer one of the more accurate picture modes such as filmmaker mode or ISF night, or even the Kalman mode, which presumably works in conjunction with the Kalman calibration software. So I will select ISF night mode for now. You can see that it has gone a bit dimmer. Let me try and get into the light sensor setting and check whether it is on or off. And then what I'll do is to slowly explain all the settings, but I think it may be too dark for my camera already, so I'm just going to try and increase the exposure of my camera, and then we'll take it from there. Hopefully you can still see things clearly, because I'm planning to grade this video in HDR. So after selecting the most accurate picture mode, we shall go through the settings. Color will affect all the colors globally, so if you increase the color value, then you will increase the saturation and luminance of all the colors. If you decrease it, eventually it will become desaturated and become monochrome. Let's leave it at its default value of 50 for now. OLED contrast is equivalent to what used to be the OLED light on LG OLED TVs. So if you increase OLED contrast, you will increase the light output from the television, whereas if you decrease it, then you will obviously drop the light output. So I will go back to the default value in this ISF night mode, which is 70. Sharpness will apply edge enhancement, so if you increase it, then obviously you will apply more edge enhancement. And then with brightness, this affects the digital video black level. So if you increase it, then you may raise the black level without any increase in shadow detail. But if you drop it by too much, then you may start crushing some shadow detail. I'll leave it on 50, and if you want to do any adjustments on these values, ideally you should at least use a test pattern. And if I can go into the advanced sub menu, and then under picture clean, there will be two noise reduction controls. The noise reduction setting is basically applying temporal noise reduction or digital noise reduction to the video signal, whereas the MPEG artifact reduction will apply a spatial filter to deal with digital compression artifacts such as mosquito noise. And under the sharpness submenu, there is an ultra resolution setting. Again, if you engage it, this will apply more edge enhancement. So for purists like myself, I would generally leave this off. Under the color submenu, you get color enhancement. Again, color enhancement off would be the most accurate to the creator's intent. If you engage it or even go up to maximum, then you will be boosting the colors unnecessarily. Obviously, it may look more vivid, but it may not be accurate. Under color gamut, you have two choices here, normal or white. white will always force the TV to go for the native color gamut of the display, which may be inaccurate depending on the incoming video signal. So normal is the correct setting if you want to ask the TV to map the color space to whatever is in the info frame of the incoming video signal. So for example, for SDR Rec 709, the TV will be mapping it to Rec 709. For UHD Rec 3020, it will be mapping it to Rec 3020. So color gamut normal would be the correct setting here. Under color temperature, you get several presets ranging from normal to warm to cool to custom. And I think, if you want to calibrate your TV, you can use warm or custom. And the way Philips have implemented their grayscale calibration is that, if you actually go into custom and then you use the white point alignment, then you will apply these 2-point white balance controls or even 20-point white balance controls across all picture presets that uses the custom preset. Hopefully, you get what I mean. And if you use warm, then you will use a different set of values here. So I will explain these values here. Under the 2-point controls, you get 6 settings, basically red white point, green white point, blue white point, red black level, green black level, and blue black level. The white point will affect the brighter portion of the grayscale, whereas the black level will affect the darker portion of the grayscale. And on OLED TVs, we generally avoid touching the darker portion of the grayscale because sometimes even an adjustment by one click in the bias controls may elevate the black level unnecessarily. So we generally avoid touching these on OLED TVs and will focus on the gain controls, or what Philips is calling the white point controls. And you can basically use these to calibrate the grayscale. And then obviously, Philips will also provide more granular 20-point white balance controls. So you can basically adjust the red, green, and blue balance from 5% video stimulus all the way up to 100% video stimulus at 5% video stimulus intervals. And I will get back and go into the color control, and this is Philips TV's color management system, and you get to calibrate the 3 primary colors of red, green, and blue, and the 3 secondary colors of yellow, cyan, and magenta. And under each color, you get to adjust the hue and saturation, but not the luminance. So this is probably a dual axis color management system. And then under the RGB only mode, you can actually turn off the red, green, or blue filter, and this may be useful to check color decoding. But these days, we generally use meters to do all the adjustments, so I don't think these are needed anymore. Under the contrast submenu, you get light boost, and I think an easy way to think of this would be how much white subpixel boosting that you're asking the TV to do. So for example, off will be disabling any sort of white subpixel boosting, and so the maximum peak white that this TV is capable of is capped. I have to do the actual measurement. But if you want more light output, then you will have to increase it, and I think a light boost setting of maximum is required for the highest peak brightness of this television for HDR purposes. But we'll set it to off for now. Perfect natural reality is Philips TV's SDR to HDR conversion technology, and you get 3 intensities of minimum, medium, and maximum. But we'll leave it off for now because we are quite a stickler for creative intent. We respect the artistic intent. So SDR movies, in theory, should be watched in SDR rather than being forced to HDR. But I will explore some of this, when I get around to reviewing this TV. HDR Perfect is grayed out now because I haven't actually fed any source to this TV. But you can see here that there is an off or HGIG setting. This will disable the tone mapping in conjunction with a console that is compatible with HGIG, which is the correct way to do it. And then you get various levels of minimum, medium, maximum, and also adaptive. I'm not entirely sure whether Philips TV has managed to implement dynamic tone mapping with the adaptive setting yet, but I shall check it out when I come to review this TV. Perfect contrast is to do with some sort of dynamic contrast enhancement, and I again need to check whether the maximum value is required to get an acceptable HDR picture, but I suspect not. From the description, this seems to be applying an S-shaped gamma, so you're basically trying to compress the shadow detail and also the highlight detail to make the image on screen pop. But by engaging perfect contrast, what you may do is also to lose some shadow detail and highlight detail, which again will deviate from the creator's intent, and I would generally switch this off. And with video contrast, this is basically what is known as contrast on most other televisions. This will affect the digital white level, and if you drop it too low, then you will be reducing the available dynamic range of the TV. So I will restore it to the default value of 100 for now. And then with light sensor, clearly this will use the ambient light sensor available on the TV to detect the ambient light that is present in your environment and adjust the picture accordingly. However, because this is done automatically, I don't really trust it at all, so I would tend to switch it off if I wanted to calibrate a TV and make sure that my calibration stays in place. And with gamma, this is a function that determines how the input signal is being translated to the picture on screen. And a brighter gamma is more suitable for daytime viewing, whereas a darker gamma is more suitable for nighttime viewing. And I think, on Philips TVs, such as this 806 OLED, if you increase the gamma value, it will make the gamma darker. And if you drop the gamma value to the negative territory, then it will make the picture look brighter. We'll get back to 0 for now. And again, when I test and measure this TV, I will be experimenting with all this. And last but not least, we go into the motion submenu. Under motion styles, you get several settings. I think, Pure Cinema is the most accurate for 24 frames per second content, because it will ask the TV to apply 5.5 pull down to reduce telecine judder. If you actually switch it off, then this will cause some telecine judder in slow panning shots in 24 frames per second movies. And then with movie, this will apply some frame interpolation on top to make the panning shots smoother in 24p content, because some of you may be too sensitive to the mild stutter that is inherent in 24p content and you wish to smooth it out, and movie will allow you to do that. And if you go up the intensity scale to standard or smooth, then you will obviously introduce even more soap opera effect to the picture. And if you select personal, then you get to adjust to independent settings, namely perfect natural motion and perfect clear motion. And I believe that perfect natural motion will apply frame interpolation to low frame rate content. So it is basically the de-judder control on, let's say, Samsung or LG TVs, whereas perfect clear motion would apply de-blur to higher frame rate content. By higher frame rate, I mean 50p or 60p content, and this is equivalent again to the de-blur controls on LG and Samsung televisions. I will test all this when I get around to reviewing this TV. And new for 2021, Philips TV has finally introduced a fast motion clarity 120Hz black frame insertion, where you can choose the intensity of the black frames that is being inserted into the picture to improve motion clarity. And you get 3 levels of minimum, medium, and maximum. And depending on how bright you want the picture to be and how much flicker you can tolerate, one of these values should work to help out with watching sports in terms of reducing the motion blur that is caused by the sample and hold technique on these OLEDs. And if we get out from here, I think that may be all. Picture format is off, but this will again just set the aspect ratio and allow you to disable overscan. And I want to actually just go into the general settings and show you a couple of things as well. So autofill mode, this will, you can see here there is an eco reminder that has popped up, and I think I mentioned in my first look video of the Philips 936 that I really appreciate Philips TV allowing us to disable this pop-up notification once and for all. But under film detection, you can either choose from content. What this means is that if a piece of content has the filmmaker mode flag, then the TV would automatically switch to filmmaker mode. But currently there's barely any consumer content with the filmmaker mode flag yet. So the better choice would be to use from AI detection, where the TV will do some AI analysis or just basically recognize the cadence flag that is contained within films and switch to filmmaker mode automatically. Or you can just decide not to bother with this and prefer picture style. You can either choose when the flag is detected or when the AI is being applied, whether you switch to filmmaker mode, which is the most accurate, or the home cinema mode, which has some Philips TV video processing sprinkled in. I will choose filmmaker mode all the time, given the nature of my profession. And HDMI Ultra HD, this will allow you to set HDMI 2.1 for 4K 120Hz compatibility, or just stick with HDMI 2.0. And I think that this is only applicable to HDMI 1 and HDMI 2. I can't navigate to it because I don't have an input source connected up to this TV. And what else? All right, here we have the OLED screen settings and local image protection. This will basically detect the logos on screen and dim it down without affecting the rest of the picture, and you can choose to turn this off. And I believe that this anti-burn-in logo detection solution is similar to what's found on last year's OLED Plus 935 from Philips TV. And then with clear residual image, this will start a major composition cycle, which I don't really advise you to run unless when you first get your TV, you see a lot of bending artifacts in terms of the uniformity, and you wish to run this once to see whether it clears up. And I believe that concludes my walkthrough of the picture settings on this Philips 806. So I will be spending maybe a couple of weeks running in this TV, let it rack up around 100 hours for the organic material to stabilize before I start calibrating and then testing this television. So if you have any questions about this TV, or if there's anything in particular that you want us to test, feel free to leave a comment in the YouTube section below. To watch some of our other videos on Philips 2021 televisions, please click here for our playlist, and I'll see you in the next video.